Happy birthday, BBC Two. Hey, that as an intro, longest video than I thought. I thought if I make this interesting, I could say happy birthday BBC Two in an interesting light. Right, let me sit on the chair without dropping anything. Happy birthday, BBC Two. Today's the day. 60 years today. I sound like I'm trying to be on CBeebies, but I'm not. Right, hello. Welcome to the third channel. Welcome to our celebration of 60 years of BBC Two. The channel that saved the world. Yeah. Saving the world is a little bit extreme. It is the channel that hibernates creativity in the land of the BBC. Today, on the 20th of April 1964, the BBC was born 60 years ago today, and the controller of BBC Two was none other than Sir David Attenborough. Yes, if you don't know who that is, it's the wildlife man. It's the man that does our planet. Here we have the giant elephant roaming around. I'm not going to do an impression of David Attenborough. So, 60 years today, 60 years today. Happy birthday, BBC Two. Now, let's just talk about briefly before we talk about why I made this video, other than to celebrate 60 years of BBC Two and this channel being about the weirdness and the epicness and the amazingness of TV in itself, from reviewing TV programmes, talking about idents, to behind the like character options who make Doctor Who figures need to make a Dalek figure, but the BBC Two ident Dalek figures. It's the first image I had of a Dalek on this set. So that's what we need. We need. Please, we need. So let's just talk about it. Let's start at the very beginning, because obviously it's a good place to begin. So the programmes that you'll remember that started on BBC Two and have become global sensations. So the one I'll mention that I won't go into much detail due to the fact that I'll mention it in more detail on a TV around the world is The Office. Now, Ricky Gervais started The Office on BBC Two, and obviously now it's in Germany, Australia, America, Finland, Japan, everywhere, India, Dubai, so everywhere. So it started on the BBC Two, and it became a phenomenon. Yes. So certain programmes, I'll name a few. A lot of programmes become so successful, they move on to BBC One. So one of the ones I can think of is The Great British Sewing Bee, that's one. Race Across the World, that's two. Absolutely Fabulous is three. Top Gear is, well, Top Gear was really successful on BBC Two once they changed the lineup. They went to BBC One, it didn't work. But what I'm trying to get at is that in its 60 years, it was trying to be anarchic. It was trying to be different to the other. Like Channel 4 was trying to be different what was on TV generally, right? But the BBC Two was trying to be what wasn't on a BBC channel, right? It was trying to be different to any other BBC channel. So it was trying to say, look, this is what BBC One do. This is what we're going to do. But we're not trying to compete. We're trying to be... Because we also have documentaries. So all the wildlife documentaries. Programmes now that people remember when you ask them. Which I'll get onto the word asking in a minute. Because it was a reference to a programme that I'm going to talk about. So referencing... So it's like Mortimer and Whitehouse Gone Fishing is a popular one now that BBC Two do. And Goodness Gracious Me was popular then on BBC Two. But BBC Two is immaculate, right? It's incredible. The BBC Two is the home of QI, right? My all-time favourite, well, Yeah, even top 3 favourite panel shows of all time, right? QI. So, it's QI comedy, a panel show, so 2 excellent things, and educational, right? Richard Osman's House of Games started on BBC 2. It did a small run on House of Games, 9th on BBC 1, but wasn't as successful, so it stayed with the House of Games format BBC 2. The Snooker started on BBC 2, and still is. The Pointless programs move over to BBC 2 if there's like a sport event on BBC 1 and we're still going to air the programme on the BBC network. So it works really well. So to celebrate 60 years, tonight, the 20th of April 2024, the BBC will be airing some landmark comedy. What I mean by that is that the best known, best loved comedy that started out life on BBC 2. So in 2016, to landmark sitcoms in general, the BBC aired a load of remakes of original sitcoms and reboots of new ones and all sorts, right? So they had landmark sitcoms, but this is just to celebrate the sitcoms and the comedies that were on BBC 2. One of the ones is Goodness Gracious Me. And then after that, a programme that I'm not too happy with, right? I'll tell you for why. So, when the BBC 2 was 50, they did a 3-hour-long documentary about the channel. And obviously, when the BBC was 100 in 2022, they did a celebration of 100 years of the BBC. And they did that whole documentary series that aired the final part this year. Do I know why? No, I don't know why. Don't want to know why? I do. So if anyone made that programme, how the BBC began, if anyone was behind it and could tell me the scheduling reasons why the last episode of the documentary didn't air till 2024, please let me know in the comment section below, or if you want me to interview you about it, do let me know that as well. So the BBC are doing this thing where they have 60 years of music on the BBC, on BBC 2. So they've got 6 years of pop music tonight and 6 years of classic music tomorrow on about BBC 2. So it's like the music that they had on BBC 2 is this stuff. And the very first outing for BBC 2 was, how do I say it? Tricky? Yeah, I'll say tricky, because in the early days of TV, you couldn't just expect things to go smoothly due to how early the technology still was. We were still in the early days of technology, in TV terms. So we didn't have radio mics, they didn't have earpieces in, they had a landline telephone that they had to pick up and go, right, okay, this was happening. And that's what's interesting, because back then, you were watching TV just to watch it. You weren't trying to engage with something, because you wouldn't be watching TV all the time because it wasn't on 24/7. So them trying to entertain the audience whilst on the phone didn't happen. That was like what was perfect about it. Now gladly, due to its 60 years onwards, the main people that worked on the BBC at that time, like the BBC 2 presenter, is gladly still with us, which is perfect. So he's around for the celebration, which he did feature in the celebration on the One Show. Now that's why I did my One Show music impression, but with two, like two. That's the Two Show. It was a happy birthday celebration intro. Anyway, so on the One Show, they had Dame Jo Bakewell, talking about, because she was a part of Late Night Lineup, which was a review programme on TV and the arts that was like anarchic because it was different to anything else. They got in trouble quite a lot and they were having a blast doing it. Yes, a blast doing it. Now, what had happened on this show, this One Show segment, is that they had the One Show, they had Jo Bakewell talking, and then every so often, if something was like vitally important to the story of telling this tale, then, how do I explain it? Then they got that person on. So Chris Packham was inspired by BBC Two, so they got him to talk about his latest BBC Two endeavour that he did solely, not Springwatch, because he does that with multiple other people, his solo endeavour, and they made sure that his solo endeavour was, what's the word for it, was talked about, in a sense of, they wanted to make sure that his solo endeavour was utilised as the area of topic. So his solo endeavour, so his programme that he's made, and how the BBC Two from the past inspired that, and how the BBC Two is still triumphing this with BBC Two. Then Scott Bryan, TV critic, who does a podcast on Radio 5 Live called Must Watch, who reviews BBC, ITV, every TV channel known to man. So let's name an example of a show that he reviewed. Baby Reindeer, which is a Netflix original, that's an example. Now he, being the TV critic and TV historian, he knows that if you ask him, what do you think of BBC Two now? He could say, well, yes, it's important to the culture. Yes, it's important to us as a nation. And if linear, which is broadcast TV, where you have to sit at a certain time to watch a program, if that disappears, then we don't know what life would be like. Well, we do, but it wouldn't be as, people wouldn't be as enthralled in the world of TV as they are now. And BBC Two, being this channel that hasn't really changed that much, does still try to endeavour. So BBC Two aired Bottom and was like, this is something that is different, and the shows that air on BBC Two are different and are out there and are more still nothing you'll see on BBC One. Well, certain programmes that become so popular enough, they move on to BBC One to make it even more popular than it already was. But, like, for instance, Mandy is a BBC Two sitcom starring Diane Morgan. Inside Number 9 is on BBC Two. The programme that you wouldn't see on BBC One, but are still the home of creativity, the home of madness, the home of exciting. So, what I like to say to anyone watching that's had anything to do with the past for BBC Two, or the present of the BBC Two, or are just starting to work with BBC Two, happy birthday, BBC Two. Hopefully you're around for 6 more years to come. Thank you for watching. Bye! This has been Happy Birthday to BBC Two.